And we're live. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning,
Morning.
everyone. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for being here pretty early.
Yep.
So, again, I would just like to remind everyone, to those who are here, please feel free to comment below. Where are you from and what are you currently doing so that our next speaker would be able to know who you are and where you're from. Okay? So, while waiting for others, thank you. This event, VA Career Success Webinar Series, is in collaboration with DICT, Department of Information and Communications Technology, VC2 Field Office, together with the Filipino Online Freelancers Cooperative, and in participation of our selfless speakers like Reinart Bacalso, who will be delivering us today how you can craft creatives that makes your client profitable and you, of course. So to start engaging with Reinhardt, I will just introduce him for you so that you would know who he is. Reinhardt is the managing director of Augment Digital, one of the leading Cebu-based digital marketing agency focused on helping self-funded brands cut through the noise with profitable creative campaigns that create more future growth. He's been into the online marketing space for about 4 years now, but Reynard's success is really pushing him to become one of the leading digital marketing agency in Cebu, and he's currently running perhaps one of the largest creative teams, independent creative teams, right from home. So
Yep.
everyone, I'm welcoming in our webinar series Reynard Bacalso. Hello, Reynard.
Hey, everyone. Thank you for having me here. Hi, everyone. I see some comments. Good morning. Nice to see you guys here. It's very varied. It's like across the Philippines. Sikihor, Davao,
Yes.
Quezon, Bacolod. Nice.
And really, thank you also for Kwan for sharing your time. I know you're a bit busy, and
Sure, no
the
problem.
invitation came in a bit late.
So we'll pull something together. I think there's something always to share. So I hope you guys get something out of this.
So, si Harvey from Davao is one of our solid viewers of this webinar series.
Nice.
We have from Sikihor, from Bulacan, okay, Kathy from Bacolod. Okay,
Damn. It's good.
teka ha, asa pang uban. So we're trying to build up the audience yet before we start because I
Sure.
think this is important uh, skill that you need to learn before you pursue. So, Reynard,
Sure.
can you tell us how did you start? How did you start your virtual assistance journey?
Yeah, so I got my first job 2016 as a it was a VA role. But even before that, I was trying to get a job probably 2 years before that. So
Hmm.
at first I thought I wanted to be maybe a programmer or something. The first time I was introduced to the whole freelancing world was because I was doing some programming as a hobby, and then I read all these things that you can get a job online. And I was in college back then, and I just wanted to earn something on the side. You're a college student, you just want to earn like money to do other crazy things. So yes, I tried. Then I found out about platforms like Odesk when it was still Odesk. Now it's Upwork, freelancer.com, like all these sites. I went up there and no one hired me. So, so I kind of put that to the side and I focused on my studies for a bit. And then around 2016, I tried again because something like in college, like I kind of realized that it wasn't really. I felt like it wasn't my path. Like I wanted to help my family earn some income already at that point. So the need came back. So then I went back to these platforms. So this time I didn't set it as a programmer anymore. I set it up as a writing because I can write. I wrote a bit well back then, and that's when I put up again. I just put a profile in Upwork, and then someone reached out. So I wouldn't even say it was like I magically found the like the client found me, and like I didn't even, you know, it was pure luck. I would say that point that, you know, someone reached out, thankfully, and he liked what he wrote. And this is one of the things I wanted to share, like in this. That's why it's called crafting creatives that make yourself profitable too, is because I think what stood out accidentally in my profile back then, there was something that I put in there that helped me stand out in a sense. So I got the job, and then I started out, and he let me read this. It was for the job was for something around marketing, Infusionsoft, if you're familiar, email
Ah, yeah,
marketing,
for sure.
very complicated. So he gave me this 100-page ebook to read, and he would
Mm.
pay me like $5 to read it. And I was like, oh, $5 is so
Mm.
like that's really a lot for like, you know. So I read it like overnight, and then I told him what I found, and he found it like, oh, that's a good insight. So he brought me on to help him do that. So he was an agency, and that's how I got started. So from there, I learned other skills, specifically the skill that I'm doing now, which is really Facebook advertising, but as well as the creative side of it. It's really helping us stand out now. So that's what I started building on, and I found other roles. Um, Again, as more of like, it's still a VA kind of role, but then now more responsibility. That
Mm.
was after that first agency I worked with. I worked with another one where I stayed for around 2 years for the rest of my college. I was working part time as their like advertising manager, where I was launching their campaigns, and so forth. So that's where I got a lot of my experience. Get the like learning how to run ads, learning how to, you know, make write copy, great creatives, even manage a team at a point. So that was what I did for a bit, and that's how I kind of got started in this whole industry. Yeah.
So, Reynard, how big is your
Mm.
team right now?
Right now we're full time members is we're 14, I believe,
Mm.
14. And we have a few other like part time like contractor people. So I would say around 14, all in house, in our office in Cebu.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I assume that that's a bit difficult to manage already.
Right now?
For
Oh, like
yeah,
14?
it's 14 is 14.
Yeah,
You
that's
can't
true.
equate that. Yeah, 14 different persons. Okay, so everyone,
Online.
I think everyone is almost here. So I think we can start the presentation if you want to start. I'm giving you the
Sure.
con.
Sure. All right.
Okay.
So I don't have much prepared, but then I just wanted to share some insight, right? Like especially on this idea as, you know, crafting creatives. So I'm just gonna talk through a lot of these and maybe show some, you know, where would I get resources if you're doing any creative work. But so yeah, so when I that's going back to that talk around like, you know, what did I do to get my very first VA job? Like what was the for me what I felt stood out and what stood out to the client as well. When I wrote my profile, like one of the things I accidentally wrote was that I wrote in my profile that I have experience writing again because I was applying to be a writer. I said I had experience writing proposals that generated I think I said $2,000 in revenue, right? So where I pulled that from is because when I was in college, I was in student organizations. One of my roles that I had early on was as a sponsorship kind of like manager or sponsorship director. So I was in charge of getting sponsorships for our student org in school for our events, right? And so I did a lot of writing proposals, and one of the things I was able to do is I helped our organization generate almost 100,000 in sponsorships for one of our events. So that's what I used in my profile on like Upwork. I think it was Upwork, where I said I generated 100,000, which is 2,000 USD, um, in my experience in my school, right? So that when I started talking to the client, that's one of the things that he brought up to me that he liked. He told me that he liked that I mentioned that. He liked that I said that I've been able to create like proposals that's like worth X amount, right? So that's generated X amount. So that's one of the things that stood out to me since that experience is that it's not really as much as the skill matters. And I'll show you some techniques on like how to make creatives, but then like it's more of like how you also position yourself, right? So a big part of it, the reason why I got that job, although it was still entry, even though it was very entry level, was that I did say that I was able to generate income, revenue, in a previous kind of experience, right? So that stood out to the client because like, oh, this guy, who has literally no experience on Upwork. I had no reviews. I had nothing. I've never worked an online job in my life. He's had experience generating some kind of income for some sort of event or business, right? So that's kind of how it ties into this. What I wanted to share primarily on this kind of webinar is that whenever you make like creatives or any creative work, it might feel like it's very, there's no attachment to the business bottom line or something like that. It feels like, oh, it's a social media post, or it's an ad by any sense, or it's like it's a poster, right? But what I've seen in my experience is that there's always a way to find that this asset, this creative you make, can then lead to the business like kind of like earning more money, right? So it's being able to position it that way, and being able to see that in your work, which will help you earn more as well and make your clients happier too, right? Because then now you've said, now you don't only just give them like a social, like 10 social media posts. You've given them a chance to be in front. You've filled up their social media page so that potential customers will know about them, right? So then you've tied like your creative work to actual business outcomes, and not just like, I made graphics, right? So that's one of the biggest takeaways I've had, especially as I started, is that there's more to just being there's more to just like having a skill when it comes to being a VA. Like, it's also a big part of it is being able to sell yourself to the client, right? So that's one of the key things I found, especially in creative work, where it might feel like there's nothing, like when you make a post, but then you can always find a way to tie it, especially when it comes to like advertising and things like that, which is where most of my experience is, right? So in that case, like, one of the questions I would get is like, what would you what tools would you use to maybe make creative work, or how would you make sure you can deliver for your clients, right? So when I started out, I literally did not know what I was doing. Also, like, I had no clue. Like, the client told me, hey, do this, hey, do that, and as you probably know, if you've started out or if you've done work online already and like you have no experience, you just have to figure it out, right? There's like a big part of it is just you, like, being headstrong, participating in groups like this that you're in, where you can really kind of learn like from others and earn the skills, right? So as long as you have that want to try to learn the skill, you can always execute and you can always get feedback from your peers. But for creative work specifically, like, a lot of people get stuck because they feel like they have to be 100% original, or they have to come up with something new every time. But in my experience, I'm not the best creative person in the world. But then back then, when I started, when I didn't have a team or anything, like, I was able to pull off making my own things by just looking online for inspiration, right? So a lot of the things that you will be asked to create in the future, if you ever choose to take the skill set of doing creatives or making creative work, it's really just about finding inspiration, right? So can I share my screen, Ruben? Like, yeah, okay,
Yeah, you can.
all right. Oh, I think it's disabled. Let me see.
I think you can.
Let me see. I think it says host disabled, participant sharing.
Really?
Yeah.
Uh, can you check again?
Okay, there, it's good. All right. So give me one sec to prepare this. All right. So whenever it comes to research, I mean, like, creative work, one of the, I guess, the biggest hacks, or like, techniques I found, is just really to just search for inspiration. This is one thing even my team struggles in
Mhm.
until now. of like just remembering that a lot of there's already so many things out there that you can pull inspiration from. You don't always have to create something entirely new, right? So example, if you're asked to make like let's say a flyer, right? If you choose to, you know, go, then you get a job in Upwork or something, it's like create flyer for a restaurant business. So I would just as easily just search like flyers for restaurant business. So there
Oh
isn't
yeah. What
so there
one of the quickest step, correct.
yeah, right. So there isn't, you know, there's 10,000 of them online. And there isn't like, this is one of the things that I think really slowed me down when I started. And that's why I want to share this is that I used to think I had to get everything like perfect, or I had to get everything like I need to know everything to get things done, especially when I was starting out. And this is the most key part, like, because if you don't get started, you don't get some momentum, it will be slow for you to like to grow because you won't get a client, you'll feel down, things like that, or you don't have a skill. So when you're starting out, it's really just a matter of, you know, trying to build a skill set by looking at what's out there. So you already, if you look at just the Google images, you already have so many like designs that you can like kind of emulate, right? If you're working for a pizza or a burger place, some of these are more complicated than others, but you just have to get kind of like inspiration and like, okay, how do I want it to look like? All right. So even for a person like me who had no experience doing creative work back then, that's what I used to just do. I just searched like, okay, this is nice. I can do something like this. And then I then searched like, how can I do this in like software available for free? Right. So, but it always starts here, like just getting inspiration. Like a lot of people get stuck on this. And even, like I said, even like my team, and even myself every now and then. But then I always try to fall back and remember that there's always so many places you can pull inspiration from and that you can pull through. And this poster on my wall, like there's so many out there. So if you were asked to do like social media for restaurants, social media posts, restaurants, um there's so many samples out there already, right? And you don't really have to, you know, will it look good, will it not, you'll see over time. It's a skill set you'll have to build, right? But then that's just a big part of it. It's like looking at inspiration and feeding your mind with what other people are doing, especially with creative work. What This is something I learned from my team because they're now more so much more experienced than I am. But one of the things they kind of told me was that, you know, there's nothing really super unique out there. Usually there's original ideas are almost, it's almost very hard to come by these days because as you can
True.
see there are 10,000 different templates for restaurant design, right? But the thing about new ideas is more of combining other old ideas rather than having to come up with something entirely original, right? So it's about looking at inspiration and then, you know, you might get the element here, you might get an element here, you might choose to use like this format. So it's about combining all these things, but you can't get to that level if you don't feed your mind with this inspiration. Especially with creative work, you're gonna have to do a lot of this feeding your mind so then you can get experience to kind of make your own stuff in the future, right? But when you're starting out, like if you have no skill set whatsoever, and maybe you have some skill set maybe in school or in previous work, but you haven't really refined it, and when you start working with very specific kind of businesses online, you have to like just do a lot, just do the research, right? Use Google, find like what other people are doing, and then emulate it, right? And then because when you're asked like, hey, where did you get this, will this work for me, or is this nice, you can always say, hey, I found this, and you know, I found this online, and then you know, it's been other brands have used it, and it's gonna be good for yours as well, right? So you have also a bit more backing because you can also back your output with research, right? So the client's less likely to be so agitated, especially or like they won't ask you so many questions or things like that, right? So it really starts here, like just doing a lot of research, right? So after you get some of your research done, there's so many tools online that you can use. One of the ones that I remember that I used a lot back then was Canva. So canva.com is like a free kind of like design tool, right? That you can use to design different things, right? So I'm not gonna go into like direct details here. You can search it online, canva.com. But this tool makes it very easy to make different things, right? So you can see here there's flyer, there's Facebook cover photo, there is probably logo somewhere here, Facebook post. So, and they even have templates already, right? So you'd be surprised with the amount of templates in the world that you can pull from, and like life doesn't have to be so complicated in most cases, right? And the reality is, some what I used to be worried about is, oh, what if the client will figure out that I just used a template or something, or like what if the client it's not original enough, or I don't want to most of the time they won't know. Like 9 times out of 10, they will not know that you just use a template, or they won't know, because in the end, what they care about is the result, right? No matter how you twist the pot, in the end, these people will just care if you get to deliver the outcome, the deliverable, and you do it on time, right? So if you worry too much about these things, and then you won't get to take action, then that's when it's kind of, that's what's going to be worrying, because you won't be able to deliver anything to your clients. So if they ask for you for a poster, you can use tools like Canva. I'm sure there's so many others there, but this is what stands out to me. So example, there's a sale. You're tasked to make a sale kind of flyer. You can just like swap this out and then swap it out with the details of the client, right? Nothing crazy. Like you don't have to design it from scratch. You see that these kind of like software can do it for you. And then if you want to apply some other templates, you can also look for others, or you can look at those inspiration and like, oh, I want to do something like formatted like this or this, and you can find a way on tools like this to see how can I implement, right? So these are the things where it's like you just have to use what's out there, at least to start, and over time you will get the experience to be able to make your own things that's super original, right? But to start, especially when you're thinking about like work that's like very administrative, or like the client really wants you to just deliver on the thing, just use the inspiration available online, right? So, and then this is how you can like build up a portfolio, and then over time you can still, as you gain the skill set, and you will as you keep doing this, um it will be very very easy for you to do this on your own now, right? Especially if you're naturally like creatively talented. I'm not, and then all I did was use these, and then they were fine. Like and then I just get feedback from the client and then move from there. So that's one of the ways that I've been able to navigate that, especially starting out with creative work. I just did a lot of research, and then like just implemented what I could within the tools I could find online, right? So that's what I would say in terms of the creative side. Actually can't see the comments, Ruben. Like so I'm not sure if there's anyone asking questions. Um, but yeah. So
So it's okay for people to ask you questions now. So
yeah, like
everyone, if you
it's
have
good.
any questions regarding what trainer is currently sharing to us, feel free to post it there so that he can entertain your questions as soon as the presentation is done.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so that's one side, and another side I wanted to share to you guys specifically, and this is more on that whole like how can you position yourself, to be so you can make more money and like as a VA, or like get more work, and then also, make your client more happy. Is one of the things that's a good thing about the marketing end of the spectrum of the VAs, because there's a lot of work you can do as a VA. You can be more of the administrative side, which is like more of like the data entry or data research, or you can be in this creative side, which is like more of creating for flyers or posts. But then there's also this side, which is the marketing side, which is your task to do more very marketing specific related tasks, like I did when I started, right? So when I started out as a VA, I was doing work for an email marketing and things like that. And the good thing about that is it's tied to revenue for the client, meaning the work you do equates to like money earned for the client, right? So it kind of took me a while to get that concept. Again, I stumbled on it accidentally, which is that, oh, I'm more valuable if I can tell the client that, hey, my work will help you earn more money, right? That was one of the things that really broke through for me. So, for example, like if you ever you run, because again, our specialty is ads, so I'm gonna dive into it a bit, like the creative side. If ever you run into a job or a post that's like, I need someone to make graphic designs for my ads, um, more than ever, like making design for ads is very easy because of you can actually search other people's what other people are doing, right? So there's this tool in Facebook called the Facebook Ads Library, where you can actually search other advertisers and then see what they're running, right? So this matters in the create example. If you have example, you sell, your client is selling like makeup, right? So let's say we look for one of the client's competitors. Let's say the name is one of these brands, and then you can literally see all the ads they're running, like the type of images they use, the type of videos they use, the types of images they use. So it's very easy for you then, again, same as the process here of like just looking for inspiration. You can say, hey, let's make creatives like this, right? So if you run into any marketing kind of style of like work where it's creative, you can always use tools like this to search for what other people are doing. And again, you can also look at other people's Facebook pages. You can look at what they do, and then you can use a tool to just easily try to follow like what they're doing, right? And of course within the brand of your client and things like that. But the great thing about this, especially example, if you end up in a job where you're told to make creatives for ads, is that inherently ads will make the client money if they do well, right? And then you can position yourself better because you can say, hey, like, you know, this these images and videos, if you run it, it will do, like, if it does well, you know, it will generate you X amount of revenue, right? So then the conversation kind of switches and it's like, oh, you know, the work is more valuable and the client sees more value from the work you're doing, and hopefully you can kind of like request to pay a bit more, right? So there's just that side of it as well, where you can better sell yourself if you know that the work is revenue generating, right, for the clients, right? And again, if the work itself is very simple, if you can find like just inspiration to pull from. And I think a few answers questions here is about like what software. One is Canva. So this is one of the best. Like I would just use this. There are others, but I don't think they're as good. It's very easy to make stuff here. Like you can make an Instagram post, and then there are, you know, there are templates here, and you can move things around to edit them to be similar to maybe like the inspiration you're seeing, right? That, oh, I should move this lower, I should change the size, make it centered, and then I'll move it at the bottom, kind of thing. Then I'll just follow that, you know, the inspiration I have here, right? And there's so many ways to, like, there's so many tutorials out there to use this, so I'll leave it to those tutorials. But then what I wanted to really share here is that whenever you get into creative work, it's, oh, this is cool, frontliners. Whenever you get into creative work, it's so much easier if you know that you can pull from inspiration. That you can always look online, even if you don't have any skills yet. Like, because one of the things I think that really hold you up if you're not, if you don't have a job yet in terms of being a VA, is getting started. And you know, there are other, you know, there are different ways to go about it. But for me, like, I thought I would be a programmer, and then I became a writer, and then now I'm running ads. So like I did not I some people ask me like, why did you choose marketing? Why did you choose ads as a skill? I was like, that because that's what paid me. That was the first job that paid me. So I just, and I learned it, you know. I learned what I had to be able to fulfill that job, and thankfully I enjoyed it as well. And over time I just kept doing it and doing it, using tools like this to make ads, to run ads, and then I got better. So, so if ever any of you like stumble upon a job then that requires creative work, and then you know you're unsure that how do I make this? I'm not creative. I've never made a poster in my life. You can, like when, like if I can, then you can, because I have no creative experience. But tools like Canva and Google, like searching for templates, make it very easy to get started here, right? So um so that's, you know, that's part of the what you end up doing as you go through this research process, right? So yeah, so that's kind of like how I would go about, like, if you're doing creative work, just really focus on the research side. Just like if you ever run into a job, it's like, hey, I need social media posts for my like e-commerce store or for my real estate business. Then really just search for templates and what other people are doing, and then try to use tools like Canva to create them, right? And then you'll get better over time. And there might be even like real estate ones here, if we like, there should be like templates here too, maybe.
Mhm.
So there's a lot you can use here. And you can swap this out with an image from your client, right? If you're selling, if they sell houses, you can change this to their name, change this to the information they have. So there's so much available out there. And there's nothing to be ashamed about if you just use templates, because in the end, these people are hiring you because they don't have the time to do this themselves, right? As long as you deliver on time and you communicate that well, they'll be pretty happy, right? At least to my experience. So yeah, it's Facebook sharing. I think I see some questions. Sharing the ads for free, yeah. Facebook shares the ads for free. So it's you can see it in this link, facebook.com/ads/library, and you can search any brand here. Like, I don't know any Filipino brands that much, but then that are running ads. But then you can probably search like ProLife or something, or they're probably all running something to a certain degree, and you can see everything here. So if you work with an insurance agent, you don't know what to run, you can just search someone's Facebook page, and then, I can make a creative that looks like this, right? You can use like a tool like Canva again. Very, very simple. Like, I think I can delete all this. So you just put an image in the back. Let me see what images I have here. um, and then you can just like build it out, and you can just try to follow this one. You can put text, so you can put text here like that, and so forth. Again, very simple. We do protection kind of thing. So you can emulate what you see here, um, with the research you have, right? So yes, cool. Yeah.
Just to add to that, Reinhardt, I
Mm,
think people should, starting virtual assistant should understand that you don't need to redo all the wheel and start from zero. You
mm,
can really start from the successes made by the previous creatives, like the one you just shared to us, the Facebook ad library,
mm.
because those ads that's being shown is more or less already
Working.
successful ads and it's
Yeah.
working. All you have to do is refine, adjust, and in my company, we have a simple rule to ensure that something is unique. It should be at least 20% different from the original or the benchmark.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
That's
I
great.
think we are in a time wherein original is no longer existent.
Yep.
Everything is about modified. Even enhanced community quarantine can be modified, right?
Yeah. That's true.
Uh,
Yeah. So everything is, yeah, like exactly like, you just pull inspiration, make it unique, you can slap the logo, change a bit of the colors.
mhm.
And to start, and over time you will get feedback, right? You deliver
True.
something to the client and they'll be like, "Oh, I don't this is not what I was looking for. Maybe can you switch this?" And that's how you learn as well. It's part of the process. So don't be scared of feedback from clients, because that's always a learning opportunity on how you can improve your craft too, right? And especially when you're starting out, like, that's all you really pull from, like, what the client says and how you can get better. And over time, as you just keep on working on these things, like, they become part of you and they become part of your skill set, and you just get better, right?
Mhm.
Of course, there are ways to shorten that by watching tutorials, but nothing really beats like experience firsthand and actually doing the work, because that's really how you get better over time, right? So that's yeah, just make it a bit more, just modify it a bit and start from there. Yeah, I think there are a few questions you
So,
want to answer.
we open to answering questions, ano?
Yeah, yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Sige. Let's start with, if you have any questions, feel free to post it in the comment section so that Reinhardt can see it. So let's start with the first one. Uh, I think Vicky, your question has been answered already. Actually, it's canva.com. Okay,
Oh, there. I see the question.
Facebook sharing the ads for free. The Facebook ads library, is it free, Reinhardt?
Yeah, yeah, it's free. It's free. So completely free. Facebook.com/ads/library.
From Shallow, I'm a Canva user po. I use it
Mm.
for church events and college projects. How can I add the skill in Upwork or any professional profiles without certificates?
Yeah, so you don't so one of the things that I've learned, like especially when I started out, was most people don't really certificates aren't not many people actually look for actual certificates for the most part. I actually thought that was one thing that I had to have. Like when I tried to become a programmer, I was like, oh, I took all these lessons to get these badges and stuff, and then I still didn't find a job. So, but when I started doing more like online marketing, even the writing, I really just focus on the results and the deliverables I created. Right. So you don't need really, I would say, like, you don't need certificates to show. I think if you can just show the work you've done before, that's already a good start. Like just some sort of portfolio. I think Upwork has a feature where you can upload projects, so you can show like projects you've done in the past and show it in your profile, right? Especially the like your best projects that you really want to show off. So although having certificates does help, it's not like it's not the end of the world if you don't have them. It's good to earn them in some way, but then most, at least in my experience, most people won't look for that. If you can just confidently show them that, hey, I've done this work before, um, and this is what I've done before, so I can work on this task too for you.
The other way of doing it,
Mm.
for those who doesn't have any portfolio or they just have a skill in Canva, is that you can even ask the client that you can do it. You can do a free trial, example, four
Yep.
hours, a free trial just for you to show off your skills to them.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, if
Exactly.
you have the skill, you will definitely get the job, diba, Reynard?
Yep, yep, for sure. Yeah, and it's a really good way to build a relationship too with the client, because they're like, oh, they're willing. This person's willing to show me that they're actually gonna do the work. Um, so it's a way for you to get into the door and like prove yourself. And even if, let's say, you don't get that job, at least you walk away with some experience, and now you have something to put in your portfolio because you tried doing the work, right? So you can always do
True.
that too.
Mm. I hope we answered your question, Shallow. Next is from Deborah. I have existing FB pages that I use for my business. Can I use it as a portfolio?
Yeah. What kind of pages, I guess, and like I guess if the creative side, yeah, for sure. Like literally, I would just look for anything you can show off. Even for
True.
me, like when I was doing the writing, when I got my first job, I didn't think it would like I really didn't think about it much. But then, like I said, like adding that part where I help. It's not even a company. I just help my student organization that isn't
Mm.
even commercial, right? But I was able to help them earn sponsorships, um, and then that, like, people like that. And I think, if I remember right, I wish I had a copy of that, my profile description before. But I think I talked about being able to write stuff for college, and you think these things don't matter, but I think people or clients, like, they like to see what you've done, right? It's
Mm.
primarily about what you've done, no matter where, as long as it's kind of relevant to what they need, it can attract them. So it could be your Facebook pages for your business, you used for your portfolio. That works, if it's
Mm.
relevant to the skill that you want to try to get clients for. um, it's always good to show something,
Yeah.
right? To No matter where it's from. Yeah.
In short, any proof of work or things that you have done is really a thing that you can add into your portfolio,
Yeah, no matter what.
no matter what. Okay,
Yes.
John James, for Canva. Canva is free. You can use Canva for free. You just
Yep.
need to create an account.
Yep. Most of it is free. I have never paid them premium. And yeah.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
There's no need.
I don't even know what's on their premium plan. But it's very useful, the way it is. So yes, it's free.
Yeah. Anime. Hello, Coach Reinart. I'm just curious. I'm actually doing FB ads. Hearing you doing FB ads as your expertise caused me to thinking that I am underpaid. Haha.
Oh,
Magkano po rate if pagawa ng FB ads?
oh, Ben can answer this also. Well, it really depends, like on like again, it's all about the value conversation,
Correct.
and it's so dependent on so many things. But then it always starts by understanding like how will this benefit the client, right? And this is, I swear, this, don't worry if you're not doing this to start, especially for the new ones. Like I did not do this until like 1 2 years down the line. Like I understood that, oh, I need to understand the business before when I
Correct.
started. And again, this is, if you're starting, don't worry, like don't, I should do this, don't overwhelm yourself, like focus on the getting a skill, getting some experience. But after a year or so, I realized that I shouldn't be focused only on selling the skill. I should be focused also on understanding the client's business, and
Mhm.
like the whole process of discovering like, oh, you need Facebook ads done. Like why is that? And they'll tell you like, oh, because we want to make more like revenue. And you ask
Correct.
them, okay, how much revenue do you think you can get if you run ads and so forth. So you have a better understanding of like, oh, if I run ads for them as well, it could possibly earn them, let's say, 1,000 more, or 2,000, or how much that number is. And you kind of get a feeling of like, okay, it means I can, sort of price myself in this range. Um, so this skill is something a bit more, I would say, in the advanced side. And it took me a while before I understood that. But if you're getting there and you're already doing some work, it's something to try to think about, like, how can I understand the business better, the one you're working with, because it's kind of, that's how I see the evolution of like VA, like kind of like being a virtual assistant. At first, you're just focused on the skill only. You're focused only on
Yes.
doing, on like the actual work. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're doing that right now, that's nothing wrong. I started with that too. But over time, you'll realize that to be able, like, to do things like get paid more, or like, get more value out of the work you do, you have to start understanding not only doing the work, but also understanding the client's business, and like how are you really impacting
Mhm.
their revenue and like their growth. Or even if it's not revenue, it can be time, right? Because the only, I think, not only,
Yeah.
but like the two resources that are important to business owners is like their growth money wise, like revenue, or like the time they save, right? So
Mhm.
if you're able to tie your work to either of these two, it's easy to understand. Oh, this is how much more I can get paid for, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's really important for them to understand that it is the value that you can add to the company that will dictate how much is your value. So
Mm-mm.
discovering what the client needs is very crucial and important, even if it's not included in your uh, what do you call this, job description when you're starting as VA. When the client feels that you are into them and you're really trying your best to pull some strings to be able to help them grow their business, they will really have the heart for to really help you grow also. The other thing is, example, if uh, because I get these questions so often, Reynard, ba?
Mm.
How much are we paid to just manage one FB page? And
Mm-mm.
literally for one page and then for about 12 posts a month, we get paid around minimum for around 60,000 pesos. And people will
Mm.
say, what, that's expensive. And I said, if you're managing a page and then it's delivering you millions of pesos in a month,
Yeah.
60,000 pesos is nothing.
Yeah.
So it would also always matter to what how much revenue are you delivering in,
Mm-mm.
diba?
Yeah,
And
for
I'm
sure.
definitely sure you're that type of person also because of the way you're explaining things. And it took
Mm.
me personally, it took me around 6 years to discover that it's not about the skills alone. When you
Yeah.
level up, for you to be able to earn more, you need to deliver revenue to the client.
Yeah, exactly. And you'd be surprised. There's a lot. Even making a flyer delivers revenue if you really, if you
Yes.
really try to find a way. If not revenue, then save time.
Mm.
Like just to go through the mental exercise. It's like example of the business owner. They earn, let's say 800, no, 80,000 pesos per day. They work 8 hours per day. If you get to save them 2 hours, that's 10,000 times two. It's 20,000 pesos, So that's another way also to manipulate, to kind of work around the math, especially if you go do work that doesn't drive direct revenue but saves the business owner time or your client time. You can also do it like that. Again, this is more advanced. Like it took Ruben 6 years, took me so much time also to get there. So if you're still starting out, yes, focus on the skill, but keep this in the back of your mind as you're growing. So it's also you're ready to kind of do that as you continue growing and start asking yourself like how can I get paid more for doing like the same amount of work.
I have a simple formula for that, Reinart. If
Mm.
to all those listening right now, it's the 3 to 5% model. It's just simple
Mm.
as that. So if you're paid, if you're paid 1,000 USD per month, how would you know if the client is able to get the value that you need to get from the input that you've been doing? You
Mm.
need to ensure that how much that amount that you are paid. It should be just around 3 to 5% of the total revenue that they're getting. So
Mm.
if ever your salary is about 10% already of the total revenue of the client, then the client is losing at some
Yeah,
point.
it's true.
That's a simple marketing percentage to revenue model that you can do. Because if
Mm-hmm.
the client sees that you're really, example, your income is just 1% of the total revenue, and they see your total value, then basically they would really uh, upgrade your value.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that and to get to that information, you have to ask questions to the client,
Yeah,
and you have to really try to discover like what do they do, what's their how much do they make,
yeah.
things like that. So yeah,
Uh,
we'll hope that answers the question in very indirectly. Yeah.
Rochelle, I think it's free because I've downloaded. Yes, it's about Canva. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
can you please give us a simple demo how to go about the design? I think it would be better, Vicky, that you check on Canva Design School.
Mm.
The Canva Design School is free, and you can check
Search
on
that.
all how you can use the Canva in a more professional way. So it's a classroom, it's free, and they also have the Canva Creative Collective, yeah, I think, but it's more or less a by invitation only community. So it's a certification provided by Canva for professional users. So
Mm.
you can try applying for that. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, this should be good. Yeah, there's a lot of tutorials online that you can go through on your own pace.
from Anatha, hi Coach Reinhardt. When you first started, did you have a personal
Mm.
website? Most coaches encourage us to create one as part of our brand. If you're a newbie with no experience in VA online or online work, what can you put into your website to market yourself? Or you need to wait to have experience that we can put on the website?
Good question. And up to this day, I don't have a web. So up to this, it's really dependent. I would say like the most important thing is consistency, right? So whatever it takes to try to get out there, get yourself out there, is like Ruben said, like doing stuff for free even for some clients, so you can build your portfolio. Because like you're right, like what will you put? Like what the next question is like if we do build a website, what are we to put there if we don't have stuff to show yet, right? And trust me, like you have something to show. Like you just have to really think like in school, what did you do in your previous work? There's almost always something to show, like if you really try to think about it. And if you do have something to show, then and if you have the time, then building a website can help for sure because it gives you this more professional look. But then if you ask me when I started, I did not have a website. I don't know how to build a website before. So I did not have a website. And then even as I grew my freelancing and being VA, it's like I never had a website used to sell myself. I have a website now, but it's like a blog, like I just write stuff. But it's not really used to sell my services. So um, I did not have anything to show, but I did have like my portfolio, I think on Upwork or something like that. Or at least I had like whenever I because in platforms like Upwork you apply for job roles, right? Or you get invited. It's the same for most. I had like maybe a Word document or a Google Slides or a presentation that had my work. So I just put my portfolio there and then I sent it to them. Right? That's primarily because I did not have the time, or I did not know how to make a good website. So I chose to spend my time to just really try to find people to work with and like build my portfolio. So for me, I did not really have a website, but if you have the skill to build one, why not? And that could even be part if website, you never know, website building could be your skill or something you enjoy doing. So maybe building one for yourself could be good. But it's really case to case. And I would say it's like whatever is the quickest way for you to show your work, either website or it's a PDF, um, or it's like your a Facebook page. That would be the best option, as long as it doesn't derail you too much from actually trying to find jobs. Because what we
Yeah.
don't want is like you spend 3 months trying to build a website and you have not built like an Upwork profile, or you have not reached out to potential job posts. And I think there are other webinars here about creating a good Upwork profile. So those are really good training as well. So yeah. So as long as it doesn't take too much time and takes you away from the actual finding the work and doing the work, I would recommend that. But again, the priority is to build a portfolio if you can, right? Ren, what do you think of that? Is that passes an answer? Did I hang? I'm not sure if I hang or Ruben hang. So let me check the comments. Oh, I think I'm the only one left here. Can someone comment if you guys still see me? I think I'm still alive. All right. So let me see. Let me check. The questions. Is there any other app for creatives, graphics, the one with animation? So for animations, there's a lot of video tools out there, and they're also free, right? So if you look at things like Shaker, this is one for video that we used to. Very simple. I think there are some limitations in the pricing. They used to have a free plan, so I think this is not good anymore. Um, then you can always use tools like Photoshop, Illustrator, but they're so complicated. So there should be, and this is a technique I use. You just, again, Google is your best friend. Like, especially when you're starting out, you won't know anything. I did not know anything, but thankfully I just kept googling and found solutions, right? So when you're starting out as a VA, your the measure of your skill set is how well you Google. Because to be honest, you don't know anything yet. I didn't know anything. You're just trying things out. So you just like try to find like ways to do things. So we used to use Shaker. Now it seems to be like to be paid. So let me look for other alternatives. Shaker. Here's others. So let me see if they can find. Oh, Adobe Spark is one. I think this is free. There's a mobile app for this too. Yeah, this is actually pretty good. Adobe Spark. So I would search that. There's a free app that you can use to make videos too. I think Legend is one that you can use too. That's free, I believe. It's free for the most part, or you can make animated stuff, animated text. So this is a good um, apps to use. Hope that answers the question. I have real estate and food use Canva for my. Okay, nice. That's great. My app, yes. Canva has a mobile app. What should be an appropriate title for Canva users? Cello. Yeah, graphic artist would be good. So graphic artist, um, or like graphic designer. Um, that would work. Got it. Thank you guys for the questions. I think Ruben cut off, but then we'll wrap up in a bit. Let me see if he texted me. Okay.
Sorry, man.
Oh, there. I was wondering if it was me
Oh.
with the comments still coming in. Yeah, I was just
Sorry,
answering
Ken.
questions. No problem.
Okay.
Big ideas in crafting.
Internet.
Yeah, there's been internet issues. Even me, like I've had issues. Our team as well. Like one of our team members didn't have internet for 2.5 days. and it was
Wow,
crazy.
that's scary.
Yeah, he's like one of our leads, so he's the one handling accounts, and it's like it was crazy. But thankfully they pulled through. But yeah,
Okay. Any other questions? I think you
I think
answered all the
answered.
questions.
Yeah, I answered most of them.
Yeah. Reynard, there was a pending question that they asked yesterday.
Mm,
How can they
I'll stop the share.
apply as interns to companies?
Apply as interns to companies. Is this
Yes.
like
For
online
them
or like?
to at least build portfolio. Yeah.
Actually, I'm not sure, but I've never had experienced that. But I would imagine it's really a matter of probably building relationships with the companies you want to work with. Um, like it's surprising how, like example me, like I actually got my start. Like a lot of my clients from when I started, when because my journey was like I started as a VA and I did some work as an advertising manager, still kind of like a VA for like two years, and then I chose to decide to start my own agency and get my own clients. How I actually got my first set of clients was from a course I was in, right? So I was inside a course and there was a community, a Facebook group just like this. And I was very, very active. I showed up every day for trainings. I always commented on other people's, and there are other business owners there.
Work.
And they all became my clients at a point. so because they didn't wanna, they had no time to run their own ads and stuff. So they reached out to me like, hey, can you do it? So I was like, okay. So I don't have a direct.
What specific training was it?
It's not active anymore. His name is, it's a Facebook ads training. His name is Jason. He's from Singapore. So he had this
Mm.
group, and like, yeah, like I just like was super active, and they were so amazed that I was taking action on everything, even though anyone could take action on those things that I did. But they were like, hey, can you do our ads for us? And I was like, yeah, sure. So that's how I kicked off the business actually. So to answer the question, internship, I'm not so sure. I don't really have much experience, but I would assume like the answer lies in like building real relationships with people you want to work with. That's really where it starts, no matter business relationship or an internship, client relationship. I think if you just build like a real person to person thing with people, I think that's where it can start.
So everyone,
Mm.
can I see any additional questions? So Vicky, a friend mine asked, I have Photoshop. Any advice on how to go about it? Okay. From Vicky, like me here, a friend of mine asked help in putting up an ad for her Mang Inasal. I only have this Photoshop, Paintbrush, etc. Any
Mm.
advice on how I go about it or just refer it to others?
So I think is so my first question Vicky, was like, do you like, are you doing graphic design? Are you doing another skill right now where it's like you're not your focus? So I would start there. And if the answer to that is yes, like your example, you're already doing, let's say, Facebook ads, or like you're doing writing, then I would actually, yeah, maybe refer it to others because you're already focused on one skill and you already have some traction, right? And the good thing about referring others, example, if you don't do design but you do writing and you refer to someone who does like design, you become kind of, again, it's all about like building relationships, right? One day this design person you referred to, one day he'll need like writing, and then they'll refer back to you, right? So that's one scenario. The other scenario, yeah, I think you replied here, not yet focused, still an 8 to 5 job. I would go ahead and do it. Like literally before, I would grab any opportunity to be able to build a portfolio and do work, even if I did not know it yet, because um, there's only so much you can lose by not trying, and by trying, not trying. So there's so many resources. We've shared a few. Canvas one, the design school, Facebook ads library. So maybe you can even search like Mang Inasal ads and see what other people are doing, and try to emulate what you can on Canva. Um, I would, if I were in your position, I would try ahead and go do it, based on the things you learn here and doing some research on how to make an ad. And excuse me, try it and just try it. Like you never know. Like maybe graphic design is not your thing. Maybe it is. You won't know until you try. So if you have the time outside the 8 to 5 job you have, I would go ahead and just try it. In the end, it's your friend. Usually, in at least in my experience, cases like that, they're more forgiving than real clients. So like it could be if
True.
you're communicative as well, and you tell them, hey, happy to do it. Yeah,
So it's a good fun. It's still a good. It's good for portfolio for
yeah,
testimonials, starting testimonials.
yeah.
Because
Especially if
if
it's
they
friends.
are your friends, and definitely they will give you automatically 5 stars. Let's work back on the issues at the back end.
Yeah, exactly.
uh, Everyone, do you have other questions? I think you already answered all of the question, Rainer.
Mhm.
And uh, referrals. If we refer clients to your agencies, do we get referral fees? Just asking.
Ruben
You
will
first,
answer.
Rainer.
Yeah, actually we
Yes.
haven't run it, but yeah, we usually do. Whenever we get a referral. And this is something new we're trying to add in. Actually, is that as we onboard a client, we tell them that we have a referral program. So that's kind of something new in us. I don't know, Ruben, if you guys do that already, but it's
Yes, we
something we
do.
learned
Yeah.
recently. Yeah, so I think you can share better, like with experience
We're
there.
part of different groups and organization, and every time they refer, we give them at least 10 to 20%
Mm,
of the first month as finder's fee.
yeah.
If it's a huge client that requires a maintenance at the same time relationship for the referral, then there's a certain monthly fee that we give also to the referral. Because at the end of the day, big clients is about loyal, it's about relationship. You're right there.
Yeah.
You're correct there, Rainer. It's really important that you establish relationship and give what is due to the person referring the client to you.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. I think that officially ends our session. Rainer, thank you very much for your time. Any
Thank you
last
for
words
having me.
to all of those who are just starting their virtual assistance career?
Yeah, I think the advice I would have told myself when I started is really just get started. Like try to not overthink and always look at it as a process, as a learning experience, because you will go through some rough patches. You will end up with clients that are very unappreciative. That's part of it. Don't get discouraged. That's really just part of it. And always try to look at everything as a learning experience. Everything you do to do some work or like build a portfolio, apply the things you're learning in this group. They all will help you over time, as of course if you make an active effort to keep growing too. So don't get too bogged down if ever you run into a client that's like so mad or so bad or like deals with you really poorly. You can always do something about it in the future. Like it's already good progress that you get started. You're try to learn the skill. Google is your best friend. Like everything is on Google. Try to find your ways around certain things. And yeah, just keep going and always use support channels you have like this group. Ask questions all the time. You never know, you might get a client in this group. Like what happened to me when I was inside a group
True.
before. So you never know, right? So just keep showing up,
Yeah.
try building your expertise, and keep building those relationships in groups like this. I think that's what I would say.
Thank you very much, Reinhard. And
Sure.
everyone, thank you very much for being here. Looking forward uh, to another webinar session in the future. Okay,
Yes, for
salamat. May
sure.
buntag. Thank you,
Thank you
Reinhard.
guys. Thanks.